Okay, welcome again to the final episode of Inside the Vault. This is actually the final episode of Inside the Vault, episode 7. It's the banker's vision. We're here with Jonas, and we thank you so much, Jonas, for actually availing time for us this week and making this episode actually happen. You already know I'm too much sec, too much sec, too much sec, too much sec. Let's go. So this episode 7 is banker's vision. Welcome so much, Jonas, again. We'd like to hear now your vision after all the years of experience that you've had in the banking industry, and how we're going to move forward there. Thank you so much, Jonas.
Thank you, Brother Jung. Much appreciated. And it's good to be here, sharing the knowledge with our people, making sure that everybody is enlightened when it comes to the world of banking. And let's do our last episode and push and make sure that we keep it strong, going forward.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's start right off the bat with the first question. The bankers vision. How do we build for the future generations? How do they build banks that actually serve people and not just purely profit? Yeah.
All right. So, profit is necessary, right, in every business. But the thing is, profits without purpose, it just creates fragility. And in essence, banks need to start being people-centered types of banks. And this then happens through, according to my understanding, three shifts. One, we need to be from transactional to relational. What does this mean? It means banks must move from selling products to solving real financial problems. And real financial problems are only solved if we have relations with people, if we have relationships in a sense of our banking surrounding itself around what people are going through, what people are experiencing, and then from that perspective, treat each and every client as an individual. I believe that's number one. Number two, banks need to move from short-term gains to long-term stability. In that, it should make sure that sustainable value is built over time, and not just short periods of time, making sure that at any given point from a banking perspective, they consider clients, as I spoke about relations, and making sure that the value that they add is built over time, considering lower interest rates, considering lower type of interest that will benefit people to a certain extent. And then lastly, from my side, I believe that banks need to move from risk avoidance to responsible risk enablement. In that, banks must exist to fund productive risk, fund entrepreneurs, fund infrastructure, and fund innovation. Because by virtue of where the world is going currently, innovation and high-tech companies become part of what we do on a daily basis. And it's very, very critical and important for the bank to make sure that the risk that they require from the future perspective is responsible and allows entrepreneurs to be able to bloom, to be able to rise, to be able to grow, from being small entrepreneurs to becoming corporates, to becoming big companies. And that is how then this should happen, because the next generation of banks measures success not only on return on equity, but from economic participation and enablement. So it's important that a lot of entrepreneurs are given a chance to participate in the economy, also that they build financial resilience and be able to grow as as entrepreneurs and as business people. I think for me that is very, very important.
Oh, okay, okay. So transactional to relational, short-term gain to long-term stability, risk avoidance to risk enablement.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So what sustainable growth strategies then, if it's long-term growth and long-term stability, what sustainable growth strategies will define the next generational banking?
So you see, from sustainable growth perspective, global institutions like your World Economic Forum have emphasized that sustainable finance is now systemic and not optional. So this simply means then that ESG should be considered. What is ESG? Environmental, social, and governance. These three things should work hand in hand to make sure that growth is required in that ESG integration brings results of financing renewable energy, reducing carbon intensive exposure, supporting inclusive lending, which we deliberated on during the first sessions,
Yeah,
and strengthening governance standards. Governance standards need to be to allow people to do business. They need to make sure that at any given point, people are able to do business and they are well equipped. They are given the environment, to perform in that regard. Because to a certain extent, um, banks that ignore ESG expose themselves to regulatory penalties, to reputational damage, and long-term assets devaluation. So for us to be sustainable in growth, you know, sustainability is risk management evolved. So all these things needs to be well aligned with how we do business. And I think lastly, given the transition that banks are taking, my brother, we need to have AI-driven ethical finance in place. We need to make sure that AI becomes part of what we do. We need to make sure that at any given point, we allow AI to shape credit scoring that we spoke about.
yeah.
AI, it shapes fraud detection, so that people are not defrauded even when they do their business online. We need to make sure that AI also starts shaping our liquidity monitoring, given the deliberation and discussions that we had with regards to liquidity and what happens in this regard. So that is how then banks will be able to grow as long as we align ourselves with the technology that is changing our world today.
Well, I think you've even answered the third question. The third question I was going to ask about ESG integration. Because now let's say a young person who has absolutely no interest in finance, but we need to get them not just interested, but a bit of financial literacy would go really far. So, what element of leadership would play a pivotal role in transforming now this lack of interest in financial literacy, especially in banking? Especially in banking, what can we do to turn that tide so that people can now be interested in financial literacy, especially in the banking sector?
Yeah, I think in the role that the human element of leadership would play in digital transformation, I think it's very, very critical and important for me to say that digital transformation requires leaders who, number one, communicate their vision clearly, because if the vision is clear, all the people will follow suit and make sure that it happens. Number two, it's important that The leaders balance innovation with prudence. If this is done, then we don't just innovate things that won't matter. We don't just innovate things that won't add value, but we must make sure that at any given point, what we innovate changes lives. What we innovate makes life easy. What we innovate makes people to be able to do things that matter. That is then how we would say our digital transformation has changed how things are done. And again, it is also important to make sure that we protect trust during disruption. So disruption is a good thing. Innovating and coming up with new things is a good thing. But let's make sure that customers' trust is not lost through these things. Remember the example I made where here in our country, people are then probably taken by a taxi, kidnapped, and everybody needs to take out their phone and apps and stuff like that. We need to start building things that are adding value, that make sure that at any given point, people trust us from a banking perspective. As much as we are pushing digital, making sure that cash is limited, cash is not handled much, um, in how we do business. Let's make sure that trust is at the center of this, you know. And then we
Yeah.
need to align our profitability with purpose. What does this mean? Aligning our profitability requires us at any given point that we have a shared purpose with people, in that we make their lives better, we improve their lives. People used to stand in queues when they wanted to pay their retail accounts and so forth. So the type of digital tools that we bring in to say you can do business at the seamless of your own house, you don't have to leave, you don't have to go anywhere. Let's make sure that at any given point that our profit is aligned in that regard, that people are also benefiting somehow, you know,
Yeah.
from how we do business. Because trust is not built by algorithms, but it is stewarded by leaders. It is something that is pioneered by leaders who are making sure that at any given time, when they develop things, when they innovate things, they have the customer at the center of everything that they do.
Now on to like the last question. What lesson in finance have you learned over the course of your time in banking that has helped you move forward in a financial perspective and also life-wise in your is it 20 plus years in banking? Yeah,
Yeah, it's 27 plus 27 years.
27 years
Yeah,
in
more than
banking.
27. Because if you can
Yeah,
count really, I worked for Standard Bank for 14 years. I left and went to NetBank. I spent 2 years at NetBank. I left, went to APSA for 7 years. And then in 2020, I then rejoined Standard Bank, which is now 6 years down the line. So
yeah.
if you really count all those years, it's been a while. It's really
So
been a while.
what in the 27 plus years, what lesson would you like to pass on to the next generation, especially about banking and the financial world that would really help spur this movement into
Yeah, yeah.
Africa becoming an economic power?
So there are five critical things I think that are important that I just wanna say something on, so that from that perspective. So I think first things first, one first thing that is important that we need to make sure that from a banking perspective that we must know, right? Liquidity is survival. You cannot survive without liquidity. So no institution outgrows the need for cash discipline. No institution can outgrow um, living without cash. Although it's not physical cash, it's still cash, even if it's in your account or lying somewhere. In those as in the movies where you'll see people are having um, accounts, unit trust somewhere where we don't know. These countries. Yeah. So that
Yeah.
is very, very important. Number two, risk is inevitable. So meaning there is no way we can live without risk. Risk is something that is always there, but mismanaging risk is optional. So what does this mean? Prudent governance protects longevity. So around risk, we need to make sure that at any given point, both the bank and the customer are always protected, because mismanaging risk means putting ourselves in disrepute from a banking perspective. So let's make sure that we live around risk, we make our plans around risk, we grow around risk. And number three is with regards to trust compound. So trust compound requires that or looks at reputation as an appreciating asset until it is violated. So meaning um, reputation of each and every person, each and every customer, each and every bank in the world is centered around appreciating the asset, because without our reputation from banking perspectives, we will have a challenge. We will fall as banks. We will close as banks if we do not make sure that the trust compound is based on reputation. So how does this then work? It simply means for people to trust me from a banking perspective, I need to make sure that at any given point, I don't put my reputation as a bank in disrepute, you know? So that's how banks should protect themselves in everything that they do. So number four, inclusion drives stability. Me and you deliberated a lot with regards to how the banks are including all the customers, the unbanked, and so forth. So inclusion drives stability. Inclusion makes sure that banks stay longer for years, because the broader the participation in the financial system of people, the stronger the economy. So we need to have everybody in mind. We need to make sure that at any given point, everybody is included in how we do things. And then lastly, adaptation is continuous. So what does this mean? Institutions like your South African Reserve Bank, they demonstrate that regulatory evolution is constant and not episodic. So the future belongs to institutions that adopt without losing foundational discipline, you know, and adopting and living and growing with changes, as I mentioned, also requires that people move away from slow systems, but we incorporate AI as part of everything that we do.
Yeah.
And I believe, this is what I believe, the bank of the future, my brother Jung, will be digitally intelligent. It will be very, very AI enabled. It will be inclusion driven, it will be human led, and it will also be aligning itself with all the ESG principles, making sure that at any given time, from a banking perspective, we are pushing all that we can in a sense of making sure that people are at the center of what we do on a daily basis. And yeah, that's that's me and how I see banking of the future. I remember early in my undergrad uh, studies, we were just discussing how banks will evolve. And there I was standing up and saying, I believe banks will still be banks, but there'll probably be lesser people in those banks,
Yeah.
because technology would have taken over. You would go into premises or use just a tablet or a computer or a laptop that is just in front of you, having discussions with you in how to run your money, without a physical person interacting with you. That is the kind of future we are envisaging. And this will
Yeah.
only happen if we really make sure that people are at the center and people are the basis of what we are trying to achieve.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jonas, thank you so much for your time this week. It's been an amazing journey going through the banking world, especially from the first meeting uh, where we talked about a lot during the first meeting. Second meeting, we talked about a lot. Third meeting, we learned that ABSA means Amalgamated Banks of South Africa. Fourth meeting, I taught you some Swahili. Yeah, and yeah, so thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving us your time this week. With Inside the Vault, 100 Days in Finance Challenge. At the end of the day, at the end of this 100 days, the goal is to spark a fire that will turn Africa into an economic superpower through these conversations, through everything. Let's see, like I told my friends, they're going to see me go from zero to maybe R1 million in
Yeah.
real time.
Definitely. Definitely.
Because I'm putting
Definitely.
myself in a position where like somebody can start from zero and learn from people who have been in finance and also walk their own path in finance, teach themselves and be rich in the process. Because at the end of the day, who doesn't want to be rich?
Yeah.
If they don't,
Wealth is the way of life. Being wealthy is
yeah,
is
yeah,
is
nobody
how.
wants to have that
Yeah,
life.
no, definitely. Money
Everybody wants to
answereth
be,
all things. Money answereth all things. So
yeah,
we
everything is
cannot do
all,
without money. For me to be able to come and see you in Kenya, for us to have our coffee, I need to fly there. I can't drive. So
you can't drive. Exactly.
that
Exactly.
flight ticket doesn't come cheap, definitely.
Does come cheap. Exactly.
Yeah.
And what most people don't understand is, in as much as finance is boring, because finance is very boring. They like the flash, but they don't like the process. Now I want to show them in real time the process until the flash. All the moves.
Yeah, indeed. We just need to make sure that at any given point we don't look at the end result of finance, but
Yeah,
understanding some of the things would make life very much easy for you, even in how you run your business, even in how you do certain things, making certain decisions. So yeah, I'm grateful that you have opened the platform so that we share the learnings, we share with a people. One person was saying to me, as much as you are there with Jung, you are not representing your company, but they must see what you are doing and give you a promotion. And I said, no, I'm not on this platform for a promotion, but I'm on this platform to make sure that I create more platforms like this where we will be sharing this knowledge with our fellow South Africans, our fellow Kenyans, our fellow Nigerians, because
yes,
what Jung is starting today is something that will first start to blow right here in Africa to the world. Thank
the
you,
world.
brother.
Thank you so much, Jonas. I won't take up more of your time. I've taken so much of your time this week. I only ask that you tell more and more people about this, because next week we're starting, guys. Next week we're starting with Lucy Mario. We will be there. He's now going to talk about the investor's perspective. And then now that you see Sydney, he's a young Kenyan, and he's opening up his own brokerage firm. So these conversations are actually very, very, very critical. And I hope, and not even hopefully, you guys are going to see me go from zero to a 1 million rand or even a 1 billion rand. And we're going to fly Jonas out. We're going to go have coffee, maybe on the shores of Seychelles.
Yeah, no, definitely. That is
Just as a
happening.
reward for giving me your time, because I know how much time is important.
Yeah, no, much appreciated, brother. And yeah, I promise that our LinkedIn world will share because I'll be seeing you very soon. And
Yeah.
obviously from Kenya to the world, from South Africa to the world. And thank you very much once again for the opportunity and for thinking of me in sharing this knowledge with our fellow Africans. It is highly appreciated. And those who are still wondering whether they should enter the world of banking as a client or customer or as employees, it's very, very interesting and it's an opportunity that one could consider and look at.
All right. Thank you, guys. This is now the close of the Inside the Vault Banking
Yeah,
Edition.
yeah,
It
yeah,
was
yeah,
great. It
yeah,
was great.
yeah,
It was
yeah,
great. It
yeah,
was
yeah,
great. It was
yeah.
great.
The energy, the energy,
Yeah,
the
day seven,
energy.
episode seven. It's been a pleasure, Jonas. I think we'll talk more. We'll talk more now on not just banking, but the business coaching part
Yeah,
of 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 of, of your ventures. You know,
yeah,
Jonas is a very multifaceted person. If you want one-on-one coaching, by the way, he's the guy to talk to. He's he's amazing. I've known him for 2 years now. He's the most energetic person I've ever met. He's always open to talk and always open to help you move from one step to another. He's a very rich man.
yeah. I
Yeah,
am
yeah,
blessed. I am blessed. I am blessed. I am blessed.
yeah.
And yeah, I am grateful for um, being a steward, with the money that the Lord has given me. So it's good to share. It's good to make sure that at any given point we grow as a people and become wealthy altogether. And yeah, these are the kind of experiences. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you. And this is me bowing out.
Thank you so much, Jen. All right.
Yeah, appreciate it. We are doing that coffee very soon.
We're doing that copy
Thank you.
very,
And
very soon.
yeah, so, and a good week to you with your next speaker from
Yeah.
tomorrow. And yeah, I hope that you have the exciting time. I guess we'll meet here on LinkedIn sharing the experiences. I appreciate you, my brother. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.